Today, we're going to unpack an incredible story, a scholar who brought an entire empire to its knees, using nothing but his mind.
Now, that sounds like a riddle, right? But it's a real story, straight out of China's chaotic Three Kingdoms period. The man at the center of it all, a guy named Lu Xun. And let me tell you, how he answered that question, well, it completely reshaped history.
All right, so to understand this, we've got to go back. Our story doesn't start on some epic battlefield. Nope. It starts in the quiet halls of scholarship, right as the Han Dynasty was falling apart.
So who was this guy, Lu Xun? Well, he wasn't born a warrior, not by a long shot. He was basically an aristocrat, from one of the big, powerful southern families. But the chaos of the times, the Han Dynasty was literally collapsing. That's what forged him. He had to take over his clan after they suffered some heavy losses. And that experience gave him this deep, deep desire for one thing, stability. And that one principle, it was going to guide every single decision he made, especially his choice to serve the warlord Sun Quan.
And here's where things get really interesting. Long before he ever won a major battle, Lu Xun showed everyone that the deadliest weapon isn't a sword or a spear. It's understanding how people think.
Okay, check this out. This is how he literally weaponized his reputation as a nerdy scholar. It was this brilliant four-step plan. First, the top general pretends to be super sick. Then, he gets replaced by, you guessed it, Lu Xun, a total unknown. Everyone just sees him as some bookworm, which makes the whole army look weak. But the real genius move, the masterstroke, was the letter he wrote.
See, he knew Guan Yu's biggest weakness. The guy was legendary, but he was also incredibly arrogant. So Lu Xun just plays right into it. He writes this letter praising Guan Yu to the heavens, basically acting like a star-struck fan. And it worked. Guan Yu completely bought it, thinking his entire southern border was safe because it was being guarded by some harmless bookworm.
So think about it. Lu Xun didn't fight Guan Yu. Not really. He just outsmarted him, manipulated him. It's like he just unlocked the front door to the fortress and let his own army stroll right in. And in doing so, he proved something absolutely crucial to his boss, Sun Quan. You can defeat an enemy without even drawing your sword.
All right, so let's fast forward a bit to 222 AD, because this is where everything builds to his absolute masterpiece. We're talking about a battle that wasn't just for a piece of land. It was for the survival of his entire kingdom.
And the situation was beyond dire. The emperor of the rival kingdom of Shu, a guy named Liu Bei, is just burning with rage over Guan Yu's death, so he invades with this massive, colossal army, and Wu's forces are getting hammered, just crumbling. And right then, in this moment of pure desperation, Sun Quan makes this wild choice. He skips over all his veteran, battle-hardened generals and puts the scholar, Lu Xun, in charge of everything.
So what was Lu Xun's grand strategy? Well, it was agonizingly simple. Patience. He ordered a total retreat. He just refused to fight Liu Bei's rage head-on. And for 6 straight months, he had to put up with his own generals calling him a coward to his face. He ignored every single taunt. All the while, he was just waiting, letting the brutal summer heat and sickness do his work for him, just slowly, methodically draining the life out of the invading army.
And Liu Bei, totally blinded by his own anger, just walks right into a trap that he built himself. He makes 3 massive, fatal mistakes. First, he stretches his army out so thin, over 700 miles, that his camps can't support each other. Second, he camps them all in dense, dry forests. And third, he builds everything out of wood and cloth. He had basically created a 700-mile-long tinderbox just waiting for a match.
So, after half a year of waiting, of taking all that abuse, Lu Xun finally saw it. His one perfect moment. The wind was just right. The enemy was exhausted and careless, and he gave the order.
And he didn't order a charge, he ordered a fire. A single spark, picked up by the wind, turned into a raging inferno that just devoured that entire 700-mile line of camps. The Shui army? They weren't just defeated, they were annihilated. The emperor himself barely got away, and he died in disgrace not long after. With one single, decisive move, Lu Xun saved his entire nation.
So, that victory at Yiling, it made him a legend, for sure. But his next big battle, that's what would cement him as the undisputed guardian of his kingdom, the guy nobody could get past.
Flash forward to 228 AD, the Battle of Yiling. Now he's facing the other rival kingdom, Wei. But this time, no waiting around. He goes on the offense. He sets this clever trap with a fake defector, baits the Wei commander deep into his territory, and then just crushes him in a pre-planned ambush. And this proved it. Lu Xun wasn't just a defensive genius. The man was a master of the attack too.
So now he's beaten the best generals from both of his rival kingdoms. And because of that, Lu Xun becomes known as the pillar of the state. Think about that title. For more than 20 years, just his presence on the border was enough to keep enemies at bay. He was the indispensable man, the one guy who guaranteed the safety of the entire kingdom of Wu.
But here's the tragic twist. The exact same qualities that made him an unmatched general, that strategic patience, his absolute integrity, his loyalty to the state above all else, those would be the very things that led to his downfall. And it wouldn't happen on a battlefield. It would happen in the snake pit of court politics. See, in his later years, his emperor, Sun Quan, got old, and he got paranoid. And he made this absolutely disastrous decision. He started pitting his official heir against his other, favorite son. This, of course, just lit a match to a powder keg, igniting this vicious power struggle that tore the entire court in half. And Lu Xun, who's now the top official in the whole country, he does what he always did. He tries to preserve stability. He goes to the emperor again and again and tells him, "You have to put a stop to this. Just confirm the heir." In doing so, he was standing up to the emperor's waffling and of course making powerful enemies in the other faction. And for that, his integrity, his lifelong integrity, was slandered as treason. His loyalty was twisted to look like he was trying to build his own power base. And the emperor, now old and confused, turned on him. He actually sent officials to publicly scream at and humiliate the very man who had saved his kingdom. I mean, can you even imagine?
So in 245 AD, the great hero, the pillar of the state, he died. Not from an enemy's sword, not from some illness. He died from indignation and grief, literally from a broken heart. He just couldn't bear the suspicion from the same monarch he had dedicated his entire life to serving.
So when you look back, Lu Xun's legacy is this incredible mix of brilliant triumph and just profound tragedy. Here's the scholar general who saved his country with his mind only to be destroyed by its politics. And his death, it wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was the moment the kingdom of Wu began its long, slow decline.
And that really leads us with one final big question, doesn't it? Lu Xun's story shows that genius on the battlefield doesn't mean you'll survive in the court. The man could outsmart the greatest generals of his age. He could burn an entire army, but he couldn't survive the paranoia of his own government. So it really makes you wonder, what's the greater challenge? Defeating the enemy you can see, or navigating the politics right next to you?